Is Moana 2 really good? Did the songs surpass those from the first movie? Did the new characters make a strong impression, or did they feel half-baked? And is Moana 3 on the way? I've already watched Moana 2, and in this video, I'll share my opinion on the movie and later explain the ending, because there are many unanswered questions. Don't worry, this first part is spoiler-free, so grab your hook or paddle and join me. Welcome to Cine Lovers and the island of Motu Nui. I'll start by talking about the movie's animation quality. Moana 2 undoubtedly shines in the animation department. With its ocean, beach, and sand themes, some of the hardest elements to animate, Disney absolutely nailed it. You can see the delicate details in every drop of water. It's stunning! If you've been keeping up with the news, you probably already knew that Moana wasn't originally going to get a theatrical sequel. Instead, Disney planned to release a series on Disney Plus as a direct follow-up to the first film. But as they worked on it, they thought, this is turning out really good. It has potential as a movie. Let's turn the Moana series into Moana 2 for theaters. And that's what they did. I hope they do the same with Tiana series because that movie also deserves a sequel. Moana 2 is packed with plot twists, those unexpected turns that keep you guessing. There's a lot happening in the story that you won't see coming. This makes the movie much more engaging and keeps you hooked on the narrative. I'll explain these major plot twists in more detail later. In the meantime, leave a comment with hashtag Moana2, and I will give a heart. In this movie, Moana has to embark on an ocean journey to break a curse that caused all the tribes to live apart. Her mission is to reunite everyone, but to do so, she needs to find the island of Motofetu, which has sunk underwater. With guidance from her ancestors, Moana recruits a crew for this mission: Loto, an engineer, Kale, a hilarious older farmer, and Moni, who happens to be a huge fan of Maui. And how was their participation in the story? Some were used more than others, but overall, it turned out well. I thought they'd be forgettable characters just there to fill the scene, but no, the dynamic between all of them and Moana worked really well. Oh, and the pig Pua and the rooster Hey Hey also got more attention in the sequel and joined the journey as part of the crew. I just felt they overdid it a bit with Hey Hey. He's funny. Just looking at that rooster's face makes you want to laugh, but he became the film's comic relief. Every little thing turned into a joke with him. Speaking of new characters, Moana now has a little sister, but she doesn't add much to the movie's narrative. There's one sweet and emotional scene between them that's nice and visually touching, but that's about it. Honestly, it feels like they created her with merchandise and toys in mind. They're riding the same wave as baby Moana from the first film, which still sells products to this day. Think about the money. It's similar to Gru Jr. and the Mega Minions from Despicable Me 4, characters designed with merchandise in mind rather than narrative depth. Now about the songs. I have to say, the tracks from the first movie were much better, in my opinion. Those songs stuck in your head, and everyone was singing them for the rest of the year. In Moana 2, the only song that really stuck with me was the one Maui sings, which is fantastic by the way. That's my opinion. The others are good, but don't quite reach the level of Moana 1. Spoilers ahead! If you leave now, click this video where I talk about more details on Zootopia 2. Otherwise, stick with me till the end because there's a lot of interesting stuff I need to share with you. As I mentioned, Moana 2 has many plot twists, which was a very pleasant surprise. I got caught off guard several times. One of them involved the movie's supposed villain, Matangi. Everyone online was announcing, here's the movie's villain, but in the end, she wasn't a villain at all. There's a long scene where she captures Maui and his hook, holding him hostage to lure Moana there to save him, and in turn, capture her too. When Moana shows up, I thought it was all over. Maui's captured, the hook's taken, and now Moana would also get caught since she'd been separated from her group after an accident with the canoe. But then we find out that the so-called villain is actually a good person. Deep down, she just wanted to help Moana find the island of Motofetu, which was Moana's goal, and, well, she also had a bit of a crush on Maui. No one saw that coming. The only thing I'm expecting now is your like on this video. It's free, and by leaving a like, you help YouTube see that this video and channel are awesome and share it with more people. I'm counting on you. When they finally reach the island of Motofetu, Maui hooks his hook onto the sunken island and begins pulling it to the surface. But in the midst of it all, about 8 hurricanes appear, trying to stop Maui. These hurricanes, this storm, were controlled by by the god of storms, Nalo, who hadn't shown up until that moment. When the scene began, I thought Maui would handle everything super quickly, and the movie would be over. But Disney surprised me again, and the scene dragged on in the best way possible. Thank you. It was incredibly challenging for Moana, Maui, and the entire crew, who were nearly ready to give up. They didn't even have a proper boat anymore, just a piece of wood. Then Maui gets struck by lightning. After that, he loses his tattoos, and everyone thinks he's no longer a demigod. Everything seemed lost. Then Moana practically dies and sinks along with the island. That's when Maui sings a ritual chant and summons Moana's ancestors. It's a beautiful, emotional, epic, and tense scene that for me is undoubtedly the best sequence in the film. The ancestors revive Moana, and in the end, everything works out. Moana gets a tattoo, and her paddle gains magical powers, implying that she's now also a demigoddess. I don't even need to say that I screamed in the theater, right? What a scene! That's cinema! It seems her power is guiding lost people across the seas. She places the paddle in the water, and a path appears, showing the direction she needs to follow. At the very end of the movie, just before this scene, the separated peoples reappear and unite. The curse is completely broken. Without a doubt, this new side of Moana will be explored in Moana 3, which I'm sure will happen. The second movie will easily hit $1 billion at the box office. So, if the excuse for making a third film is to see how the second one performs, rest assured, it's happening. But let me tell you something even better. The post-credits scene. Moana 2 has a post-credits scene worthy of a Marvel movie. It's one of the best post-credits scenes I've ever seen in an animated film. In this scene, Matangi, whom everyone thought was the villain, is shown talking to a man. She's handcuffed and says she fulfilled her part of the deal and now he should set her free. But the man refuses to release Matangi and argues with her. This man is Nalo, the real villain of the movie, the god of storms, the one who sank the island and cast the curse. He only appears in the post-credits scene, and tell me that's not a respectable post-credits scene. What seems to be the case is that Matangi had done something a long time ago that Nalo didn't like. To settle the debt, Nalo imprisoned Matangi and would only release her once the island of Motofeto came out of the water and the curse was broken. But he believed no one would ever accomplish that. So, in his view, Matangi would always remain his prisoner. He doesn't set her free because he suspects she helped Moana find the island, and she actually did help. So Matangi's only reason for helping Moana in that scene where she reveals she's not the movie's villain was to gain her freedom. And still in the post-credits scene, Tamatoa interrupts their conversation. I thought it was cool that he's back, but his appearance ruined the emotional weight of the post-credits scene, which was already at a super high level. Tamatoa could have appeared earlier in the movie, but his presence in the post-credits scene wasn't great. This creates a fantastic setup for Moana 3, where the relationship between Matangi and Nalo can be further explored, with Nalo going up against Maui and Moana. Plus, we could see more of Moana using her demigoddess powers. Will you be watching Moana 2 in theaters? Comment below, and don't miss these videos on the channel about the Disney and Pixar universe. There's so much you might not know, and I'll share it with you in those videos. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video on Cine Lovers.